All right, so I got some more goodies in for the next project. The small box. This bag has just got miscellaneous stuff in it. It's got my thermostat housing, some radiator bushings, radiator cap. They gave me some sunglasses. They gave me some sunglasses. What else I got? I got my upper and lower radiator hoses. And then this is the wiring harness for the, so I got wiring harness. And then down here, let's see what I got here. What do I got? Fans. I'm wondering if I should have went bigger fans, but this was with the kit, so I just. So these are two electric fans, and then the. Let's see what we got. So it's a cold case radiator for automatic transmission, which is what I have. So I should be good to start putting this all in and giving my car a little bit of coolness. No pun intended, or maybe there was. This is nice. Well, they gave me a radiator cap. I guess I just went with the other radiator cap I got was a billet one but I guess this is just the one that they bring with it, or send with it. So yeah, so that's my project now. Putting this radiator in, but really it doesn't need to keep cool because it sits in the garage, so I should pull this thing out. Gotta be careful not to ding this up. There we go. There we go. You know what I should do? Well, I gotta mount those things too, so I guess I wonder how they mount. I'm hoping that they don't mount with zip ties, because I'm not really a fan of those. I've used them before and they just punch zip ties through here. And all right, guys, let me, before I destroy this, bang it up or anything. All right, so in the midst of trying to mount this thing, and one thing I did miss on my unboxing was I've got this fan shroud. It's got that blue protective coating on it right now, but it pops right over top of the fan. But right now what I'm trying to do is figure out how I'm going to mount this. I bought these rubber bushing brackets, whatever you want to call them, just to kind of secure it. And I put it on the bottom and it doesn't fit in there so nice. And so I'm still trying to figure out if I'm doing it wrong or if I'm doing it right. I flipped them upside down because I bought 2 sets. I thought I could use some for the top, but I'm not going to be able to. I thought it was supposed to lay like this in the rocker, and it probably does. So I tried it like that, and then I flipped it upside down and I moved it over. But I think I'm going to go back to flipping it back over here and having it ride underneath this on the bottom. But in the meantime, what I'm trying to figure out, and I'm just going to gamble here, is making a bracket for here to hold this in. So what I did is I cut some steel. So this one's going to get bent, and then this one will be welded in like this. So let me explain to you how this is going to work, or how I think it's going to work, or how I hope it's going to work. What I'm hoping is it'll come off the top here, and then the big piece will come out and then go down and bend down this way. So that will be my outer bracket. And then the other piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack it in on this L. I'm going to tack it. So basically I'm sandwiching this top rail all the way down. So have it down here, and then that other one will be sent down the center. And that way when I take the bracket off, it will basically come off like this, off the radiator. And then what I'm hoping is I could buy some little thin rubber strips. And what I'll do is, remember, this one's gonna get bent, and I already have the mark here where I'm gonna bend it. But so it's gonna be bent up, and then try this again. It's gonna be bent up right here. Let me get this one out of the way so it don't confuse you. That one's scrap metal right now. So this one's gonna be bent up right here, and then this one will be welded like this. So I'll have that gap right in here, and that will slide over this. So I hope I didn't confuse you, because I started getting confused talking about it. By the way, I replaced the lens on this GoPro because I was grinding before when I was doing floorboards and everything. My grind chips got in it, and then welding and everything else. So I figured maybe my lens has been degrading and I just didn't know it, because it was bumpy. So I replaced it. So hopefully the video is a little more clear. All right, guys, let me get back to it. I'm going to bend this up and then weld it and see how it fits. All right, so I've got this kind of basically mocked up a little bit. Kind of going off what I was saying. I'm gonna bend this one in just a little bit. This side needs to flare in just a little bit more, probably from here on in. But that will allow me to put like a rubber adhesive on both sides, so that this is not just rubbing up against the radiator. I've already got it underneath. There's holes here for mounting. So I've got them marked already. I haven't drilled them yet. So I'm going to go ahead and continue tacking in. I'm not going to do a complete weld. I'm just going to keep tacking in that center piece of metal. But basically, that's what's happening right here. So that should hold in the top of my radiator. Then I'll work on a bracket for the bottom piece of it. Yeah, let me get this off, tweak it a little bit. This is the first time I put it on, and take off this radiator. I've got to be real cautious with not banging it all up, taking it in and out, because this power steering gears it right there, and I don't want to bang into it. But all right, guys, and I did change. I went and put the, I'll see where I can see it best. You can see right there, that rubber piece. I did put it back where it was supposed to be, so it's underneath this and not on that crossover from the radiator. Thought it'd be more rigid there. Same thing with this side. But, yep, let me get back to it and then tweak it some more. Later, guys. All right, I got the top bracket done. It didn't turn out too bad. I might go with this for now, but I'll probably either redo it with heavier metal or maybe get aluminum and try to do it with aluminum. But here's the bracket. So I drilled the holes in it, so basically it will, when the radiator's over there, but when the radiator comes in, it will screw into these two bowl holes. It'll come down like this. It sits there, and then it will hold the radiator in from the top piece. So overall, it didn't turn out that bad. I think I may have used just a little, I think that's 16 gauge steel. so you can kind of see any tinging in it. You can see there's a little bit of indentation or what have you, especially with the glossy looking paint that I put on it. But by the way, this has become my favorite paint as of late for some things. It's the enamel caliber paint. I've got it in silver and I've got it in black. I just love that, the way it lays on, how it dries. But this is let me get this out of the way. This is the radiator. So that's the top of it. This is the bottom. I got to make the brackets on the bottom. I got to make those brackets. So I'll probably set this in and then probably mount that top. Well, no, I can't do it. I ordered some rubber, adhesive rubber, to put in that little bracket so that when it sits over top of this piece of my radiator, it's rubber. But I also used the self-tapping screws. So in the kit, it came with these screws and then the pop rivets, but I went with the screws for ease of taking it out and in. And then you can set these and clock these fans however you want. So wherever you want this cable to be, it could be on the bottom, it can be on the top. I think I went and chose the center of it so I can tie these together and then I'll run them together like that. I could have put them on the top and just had them run across together, but I think I was just trying to keep these close to being the same and then having everything tied together. Because if I had put it at the top, I would have had a longer one going this way and then this one would have probably only went this far. And so anyway, I guess what I'm saying is you can clock it however you want, because these little brackets that slide in, you can slide it into that one. You can clock this however you want. And then they've got different ways of mounting it, but this one is the one that suited my build, or at least what I've got. So yeah, I'm waiting. It's going to be, today's Wednesday. I think tomorrow, Thursday, is when the rubber piece is going to come in. And so then I'll line the inside with this with rubber. Like I said, I may do this over again. I mean, this is functional and doesn't look that bad, but like, yeah, I'm not sure. I can always do it later. Maybe do it with aluminum or a heavier gauge steel maybe. All right, got another thing done. Finished the upper bracket, so that the bracket right now is what I'm gonna have on it until I decide may change it. And I may change it in the future, but for right now, it turned out pretty good. So that's my upper bracket. And then on the lower bracket, let me get down here. It wasn't necessarily cookie cutter, but basically what I did was, let me turn on the light here. Oh, it's too bright. So what I did was I just made basically like a bracket like this, and then in between this and the bracket is some rubber, and then between here and the bracket is rubber, and I did it on both sides. So the bottom brackets are done, and then the top bracket is done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mount the thermostat housing, and then this plug right here, I'm going to take that plug out of it. This is Eldorock Performer intake. I'm going to take that plug out, and then with this wiring kit comes a plug I can put in it. So this is the plug I'm going to end up putting in there, so I can run all my wiring there. So far it's turning out pretty good. One thing, trying to line this hose up. Well, first of all, it's kind of tight right there. You can see how tight it is to my frame. So, but I can get it in there. I'm assuming since this is the flared end, it's going up to my water pump. So it will go something like that. And then this side will go down here. And then it will be, but it looks a little kinked, so I might have to trim it. Well, it's not all the way on yet, so maybe I'll just give it a break until I actually put it on, because it may fit. And then the other one, I think it is a little long, so I will have to trim it. And it's going to come off the thermostat housing, something like this, and then that will just be trimmed right here. Probably 5-6 inches, depending on how it is. Yeah, it'll be trimmed. So I'll have that one to do. I think I'm going to hold off on putting these on, just because I think I may have changed, well, not changed my mind, but I have regular hose clamps, but what I want to use is those band clamps that it's a band clamp with a bolt and a nut, and it tightens it down. I think that's what I'm going to go with. And so I'm going to hold off until I put those hoses on. I've run to the store and get those clamps. I measured them. I think I had it at, what was it, like 2 inches or 1 3/4 inches or something to that. And both of them were similar. Yeah, it's like 1 3/4 inch. It's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, or 1 7/8. Yeah, 1 7/8 outside diameter. So I'll go get a band clamp, a couple, 4 band clamps for that. And then I'll be able to hook the hoses up, and then I'll go straight into, I'll start doing the wiring. I might do the wiring before, because what I'm going to do now is just put this on, the thermostat housing. Then I'll probably transition to the wiring since I'm waiting on the hose clamps, and then go back. So I've got the original thermostat, which I think it said 195, and then the one I bought was 180. Even though I like the original one, the way it looks compared to the new one, I think I'm going to go with the 180 thermostat, vice to 195. So you can see the difference. Where is it? Side by side, you can see the difference. I like this brass looking one, but the brass one's 195. So I'm going to go with the 180, put it in, and if it fails, well, lesson learned. I'll get me another one, get a good one. But that one says premium quality, so we should be all right. All right, guys, let me get back to doing thermostat housing, and then we'll transition over to the wiring. And I'll show you kind of where I plan on running the wiring for this. All right, later. All right, first things first. If anybody has a trick not to get RTV, it's kind of like that, what's that stuff that gets everywhere, that silver stuff. This RTV is everywhere, and I've gotten it on my hands, and it's just a mess. So I think I'm gonna let it dry up and see if I can brush it off. But I got the thermostat housing on, I've got the switch in, I've got the fans tie-tied. I put these things, they don't come with the fan, but I had bought a kit of them, so they work out nice. So it's actually works real well for this. So what I'm doing is I've put one here to hold these wires, and then once these wires come across, and I haven't tied it in yet, I'm gonna tie it into this one so it will run nice and neat across the top of the fans. And where I've mounted my relay is right here. So the battery's gonna sit here, and it's right here. So just so if you're wondering, I've already checked, because originally I wanted to put it here because there was already an existing hole. I was just gonna put a bolt and a nut through there. But because when I mounted it, I brought the battery over, it was just too close, and any movement, I didn't want it banging into this. So right where it's at now, I've got plenty of room, and if the battery shifts back and forth, which it shouldn't, because I've got the full brace and bracket and mount for it. But there's the relay. One of the things that I forgot to do before I put the relay on, and I could take it off, but I decided just to leave it, is find out where the terminals were at, or which terminal was which. So this is the instructions they have. Now, it doesn't really tell you what color wire goes where, and that's fine. But it does tell you where the thermostat, I mean, which pin on the relay it goes to. But now, my eyes aren't the greatest, but they're not that bad. This right here, I don't know how small of a font they got, but maybe if I zoom in, you can figure it out. It's a pain in the butt to try to figure it out. But a process of elimination, what I did was I took this paper and I looked at this, and now the big red wires are going to be power and from the fan. So when I went to this relay, that looked like the closest thing to a 30. So you got 86, 85, 87, and then 30. So 30 looked like it was, and 30 is the one that goes in a fuse in line to the battery. So on this kit, 30, which is the vertical one on the bottom, is black and red. So that one's going to go straight to the battery with a fuse. This other red one, which is 87, is going to go to the fan motor. So those are the two thickest wires, from the fan and from the battery. Then you've got the white one and the blue one. And so, because it's such a pain in the butt to read those numbers, I did decipher it, and what I did is I put it down on a piece of paper just for easier reference. So number 30, black and red, goes to the battery. 37 is red, fan motor. 85, the white one, will be switch power. And then 86, the blue one, will be running to my thermostat. So it's not terribly difficult, but I was hoping like crayons and big coloring book and pictures and everything, so it would help this guy out instead of straining to try to figure out what that font said on a piece of paper. And who knows, maybe somebody that's really familiar with relays looks at a relay, doesn't even have to see the number, and can tell you exactly where it goes and what it does. That's not me right now. But here I am. And you can tell just by where I've got this in a relationship to the battery, to the radiator, all them wires that go down there, pretty much gonna get cut off. Because I've got this coming here, and then I've got one wire going to switch power, which I got to figure out where I'm going to take my switch power from, and the other one comes across and goes up here. So I'll have 2.5 feet or whatever of that. The rest of those wires get cut off. So before I cut, I'm going to measure a couple times, make sure that everything fits, put them in place, and I got to remember that the fender wells come in. So if I didn't take that in consideration, or so maybe what I'll do with the switch wire, or not the switch wire, with the switch wire too, but maybe what I'll do with the thermostat housing wire is just give it a little extra initially in case I want to mount it down on the fender well, or once everything gets put together, I'll be able to kind of manipulate it. And then if it works out, I can just trim it down smaller. But for right now, it looks like the ground and the power wires from the fan and to the battery, there's hardly anything there. It's hardly anything there. I might have a 6-inch wire. Actually, they gave me this. I got to figure what I mean. It's like looped. I guess you just cut it in the middle and call it the. I don't know what this is. I was thinking that this might be the fuse. Hold on, maybe the fuse is in there, and Yeah, the fuse is in there. So this is the fuse. This is the fuse, and so what I'll do is I'll just cut it in the middle, and I might not even have. Yeah, it's so these two black ones are the ground, two red ones go to the power. This is going to be too easy right here, just too easy. So it's so far so good. Like I said, since the car's not together with the fender wells, and I got to find out where my switch power is coming from though. We'll figure that out. All right, guys, later on. All right, I'm as complete as I am going to be with this cooling system now, just because I'm not putting any coolant in it quite yet until I'm ready to start it. But I've got everything hooked up. Like I was talking about before, I tied it in there, brought it up here, put some waterproof tape on the connection, and then I've got these retainers to keep the cable in check. Comes down, I mounted my relay right next to the battery. It's not going to bounce into it this way. If I tried it behind there, it would have bounced, but I didn't do that. And then from here, I've got it all sheathed up. Coming here, the power cable to the battery is fused. And then from there, I've got the line going to the coolant temperature sensor right there. And then this one, which is all sheathed up, has two wires in it, and they're both the ignition wires, ignition power wires for the fuel pump and for the fans. And then they come up here, and now I left some leftover wire just in case I want to route it, how I route it around here. But if I don't need it, I can just cut it and splice it in. If not, I can just leave it for right now. And then underneath, what I did was I tapped into the existing fuse block, cleaned up my fuse panel, and then I've got these little adapters that go into the side of the fuse panel. And so I've got both the ignition, these are both ignition, this whole side is ignition, but I've got one for the fuel pump and then one for the fans. So it will let it know that it's powered up with the ignition to run. I've already tested it. All of it runs. Pumps fuel up. But the fan, the fan hasn't kicked on because it's a thermostat. Oh shit, I'm sorry. The fan hasn't kicked on because obviously the engine's not running. It's 190 degrees is when it kicks on. But I was curious if I just grounded that out, if that would basically short the signal and allow the fan to kick on and test it. I didn't try that, but I might try that just to see if it works. I've also put on the hoses, top and bottom, and then I put on these clamps. These are the clamps I was talking about that I put on, and I installed my transmission lines as well. So right now, I'm pretty set up on the cooling system. The fuel system, I just need to put coolant in it and then fire it up. But I'm gonna wait for the exhaust to get here before I start it up, because right now it's just open headers and I don't want the open header sound. But I'm ordering a new exhaust tomorrow, so it says it should be here in about 2 weeks. So it's gonna be 2 weeks. Everything keeps snowballing for time. Other than that, oh, and one other thing I ordered, it should be here later this week, but I'm gonna wrap this video up. But for an overflow, I bought this container that I'm planning on mounting here, because typically I believe this is where the charcoal canister mounted, and I'm not gonna have a charcoal canister, so I'm just gonna mount the overflow right here and see if I can get it to look halfway decent. But yeah, so far I'm happy with where we're at. Of course, we haven't started it up, so we haven't seen any leaks. That would be a whole nother story when we start it up and see leaks or not see leaks. I'm probably 95% confident we won't have any leaks, so I leave the door open just in case. But you never know. You know, when you touch something and you keep touching things and you're messing with things, you're bound to have something that you forgot, didn't tighten down all the way, or for some other reason. But all right, guys, that's all for now. I'll let this video end, and then we'll pick up with something else later. Later on, guys.